Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to another episode of the Xfactor Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Mondaine. We are in season 4, episode 2. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We got a great show for you tonight. Obviously, we got March Madness crazy. We're almost at the end of it, which will lead us right into the NBA with the play-in tournament. We got some MLB week 1 from opening day. We'll talk about that. So we got a gang of stuff to get into. Again, thank y'all for tuning in. We are always on Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. We are on all the streaming sites, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Rumble now. So be sure to subscribe to Rumble as well. And all the audio sites. You can get us at Apple Podcasts all the way down the line to iHeartRadio. Just be sure to tap in, subscribe, like, share, follow. All the things, Xfactor Sports Podcast. Again, great show for y'all today. We're going to get into some quick news. We'll start with March Madness, which is obviously going on right now. Over the weekend, we had the Elite Eight. We had the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight for the men's and women's side. The Final Four is set for both sides. I want to congratulate North Carolina State and UConn for the first time ever in college sports. A men and women's team, 2 colleges are in the Final Four together. UConn has done it a couple times. They've even won national championships the same year, 2004, if I remember, and 2014, I think, when Stewie was running through women's basketball. I think they won. The men snuck one in that year. But NC State, congrats to them. Their ACC team, I hate that they beat Duke, but they just played better and earned their right to a Final Four. But the women are also in the Final Four. So for the first time ever, we got men and women on the same campus going to the Final Four, 2 schools. Along with the women's side, you got South Carolina, who is undefeated, and Iowa, Caitlin Clark and the crew, and then Paige Buckers and UConn on the women's side of the Final Four. On the men's side, of course, UConn, Alabama made it to a Final Four. Congrats to them. NC State and then Purdue, Big Zach Edey and the crew are in the Final Four on their redemption tour from being a 1 seed, losing to a 16 last season. They might try to pull off of Virginia. We'll see if they can do that. On to the NBA quick news. Joel Embiid, been out for over a month. Hopefully they can get out of the play-in tournament, but even to think about the play-in tournament, a healthy Joel Embiid and the Sixers in the play-in tournament is crazy. Before he got hurt, he was an MVP candidate, probably front runner, and they were like the 3 seed in the East. To think that they are about to be in a play-in, I don't think anybody wants to see the 76ers in a play-in game because they're going to run into who? The Bulls? Atlanta? Like they're going to have to play them teams in the first game? Like that's going to be a bloodbath. So shout out to them if they can get out of the play-in game. Please get out of the way of the Bulls and get into the top 6. So we ain't got to play y'all, but it'll be crazy to see Joel Embiid in the play-in game. So with the play-in tournament, who's in and who's out? So starting next Saturday, April 16th through the 19th, we got the play-in tournament. And with a healthy Joel Embiid and the Sixers in the play-in, nobody wants to see the Heat ever when the playoffs start. They're in the play-in right now. Nobody ever wants to play against those dudes. They can make it to the finals being an 8 seed. It's been done before. And the Bulls clinched a play-in berth. So I'm going to laugh to keep from crying. Since the Bulls actually, I guess they made the playoffs. I mean, it's kind of sad looking at the standings. They're the only team that has a play-in berth, which means there is no way in hell they can be one of the top 6 teams. Like they're just locked in from 7 to 10, no matter what happens. So take that for what it is. But then the Western Conference is going to be silly. So we might actually see LeBron, AD, Steph, Clay, Draymond, Devin Booker, KD, Bradley Beal, De'Aaron Fox, and Sabonis all in the play-in tournament. I just named off like 10 All-Stars. At one point in time in their career, they were All-Stars. stars of their teams, and all those players could be playing against each other in the play-in tournament. That'll be the craziest play-in tournament ever if those 4 teams are in it. Houston's trying to play spoiler. They were on an 11-game winning streak. It got snapped last week. They're trying to catch the Warriors at the 10 spot, but I think the Warriors hold them off and stay in the play-in. But that's going to be a crazy play-in tournament in the Western Conference next week. If it stays as stands with Phoenix, Sacramento, Golden State, and the Lakers in the play-in tournament, that'll be nuts. So I'm going to definitely tune in. Y'all should do so as well. On to the MLB news quick. We already got our first no-no into the first week of baseball. Congrats to Ronel Blanco of the Astros. He's having a crazy week. He's had a long road to get to Major League Baseball. 28 years old is when he finally made it to the bigs a couple years ago. This week, this is what's happened to Ronel Blanco. He had his first child, had a baby this week, got an opening day, made it on the opening day roster, and pitched a no-hitter. So congrats to him. Crazy week. Had to give him a shout out. Major League Baseball is back, and we already getting no-hitters. It's going to be a crazy season. So congrats to that. Now, before we get into the segments, and we blasting through all these, again, season 4, there will not be any commercial breaks. If there are, it's going to be very little and very rare. So we were talking about March Madness. We're talking about the Final Four, right? Everybody probably seen the game on Monday night. Iowa, LSU. Caitlin Clark, quote unquote, got her revenge back on Angel Reese. So did she really get her revenge back? Now, I'm a big fan of context. Of course, this looks great on social media, memes, whatever. Angel Reese cried at the podium. Shocker, she cares about winning. Weird. So everybody made a joke about it. But to me, I look at it always from a different angle. And to be honest, that win on Monday don't mean a damn thing unless you win a ring. All right? So if she don't win this national championship, everybody will forget that Angel Reese cried at the podium. Everybody will forget that Iowa beat them in the final, in the Elite Eight, because it didn't equate to a national title. When Angel Reese beat Caitlin Clark in Iowa, it was for a national championship. It meant more. That's why everybody has the images of Angel Reese doing this with the finger. Everybody made that famous over the last couple of years. Even Aaron Donald did it. Steph did it. Angel Reese did it in a national title game. Congratulations to Iowa on winning and getting to the Final Four. Again, it's a great feat. However, let's chill on the revenge talk, because it don't mean a thing unless you win a ring. Now, all these headlines we're seeing about that, they can miss me with all that. The Twitter police gonna troll all day. Of course, that's what they do. If it helps you sleep at night to troll a young lady for losing in an Elite Eight and crying about it because she cares, then have fun with that. It's all good. But I'm gonna look at it from a sports point of view. And yes, I will beat LSU, but again, it was to get to the Final Four. It wasn't to win a championship. So all this celebrating and revenge talk don't mean a thing unless you win a national championship. That's how I'm looking at it. So she has to go ahead and finish the job. Then we can start talking about the greatness of Caitlin Clark in Iowa if they win a national championship. Because you got to think about it. In order for them to win, she had to go through Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark had to go through Angel Reese. Then had to go through Paige Buckers in UConn, and possibly go through an undefeated South Carolina team. Now, if she does that, then we can start talking about the greatness of the Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball team, Caitlin Clark. We know what she's doing as far as numbers go. She's going to be in the record books. But from a legacy standpoint, I'm hearing all this greatest college basketball player and all that. She ain't got nothing on Stewie. She ain't got nothing on Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, none of these women. Shamika Holslaw, I'll go all the way back for y'all, for my older viewers. Candace Parker. She don't have nothing on these women that won championships. Cheryl Miller went back-to-back at USC in the 80s. Like, let's pump the brakes. Yes, she is great. She obviously is revolutionizing the way these women are playing the game. It's in the social media era. She's bringing fans. Ratings are going up. But when it's all said and done, if she didn't win a national championship, what are we really talking about? Because all of the dominant women in college basketball won at the highest level. So there were a lot of good, even great women's basketball players in college. But if they didn't win national championships, nobody talks about it. Everybody I pointed out to you won multiple national championships, not just one. So let's see if she can pull it out, follow through on this quest to win. It'll be tough, but we'll see if she can do it. It'll just add to the legacy. So like I said, y'all let me know what y'all think. If she gets this ring, will this put her in the pantheon greats of college basketball, women's college basketball players because of the records and the ring? Or, you know, did she do enough if she doesn't win a national championship? Y'all let me know what y'all think about that. All right. So keeping it there, we're going to go into the Final Four and the national championship predictions for men and women's college basketball. We already talked about who's in these games. Now let's go ahead and do the head-to-head and talk about who we got winning. For the women, ladies first, of course, South Carolina versus North Carolina State. All right. I don't think it's a surprise. I got South Carolina winning this game going away. I don't think it's going to be close. The betting odds have them as 11.5-point favorites. I would take that. I'm taking South Carolina to cover. They're just too good of a team. They're deep. Their offense is better than it was last year, which is kind of what hindered them going to the Final Four. I think they corrected all that. Obviously, the record speaks for itself. And they're averaging beating teams by 27 points in the tournament, and they're undefeated. So I got them on Friday beating NC State and going to the national title game on Sunday. And then in the second game, we got Iowa and UConn. Now, I like UConn. I've always liked UConn. I like Paige Buckers. I like Gino Auriemma. I'm a fan of greatness. I'm not one of these people that are like, oh, they win too much. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Somebody is winning too much. If you're doing it the right way, is it really a wrong way to win? Like, is it really wrong to win all the time if you're doing it the right way? So that's just the mentality of this society, which is terrible. But Gino Auriemma is going for his 12th national title. So I think nothing needs to be said about the greatness of Gino Auriemma. However, in this particular game, I'm actually taking Iowa to get past UConn and get to the national title game. And I'll tell you why. On Monday, that game against USC, UConn won the game, but if that game would have went into overtime, I don't think they would have won. They were out of gas. So the issue that UConn has is they have a very small rotation. They play 6, maybe 7 girls. They have 5 players on their team injured this year, out for the season. So they just are devastated by injury. The fact that they made it this far is an accomplishment. And I just don't think that they will have enough to beat Iowa. They just don't have the depth. Those ladies are going to probably run out of gas at some point. If you watch the end of that USC game, they missed like 6, 7 straight free throws in a row. And these are the girls that shoot really good. They shoot 75, 80% plus at the free throw line. And they were missing them at the end of the game because they were tired. I think 4 of the girls that were in the game played 40 minutes. They played the whole game. And it's going to be very hard to play with Iowa the way they like to get up and down the court. Caitlin Clark likes to get the ball out fast. Most of her assists are from half court and beyond. They're a running gun team. They play with pace. And if I noticed that, I'm sure the coach at Iowa noticed it, that they don't play a lot of players at UConn, and they're going to try to run them in the ground. I think that's to Iowa's advantage. And then Paige Buckers is going to take the challenge to guard Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark might not guard her back, but Paige is that type of player. She will take the challenge. But will she have enough in the tank to actually do something on the offensive end to stop the firepower of Caitlin Clark. Like, you just have to assume that Caitlin Clark is going for 30, right? I mean, this isn't a surprise. But she's got these two other girls that are seniors that they played over 100 college basketball games together. They're in sync. I just think it's a lot for UConn to overcome. If they do it, great. But if you're asking me, I think Iowa wins this game. I don't think they blow them out, but I think UConn just runs out of gas. I don't think they have enough in the tank to beat the wave of Iowa's transition. So I'm going with Iowa to win that game. Now, our national title game. So I got Iowa going back to the national championship game, going up against another SEC team like they did last year in LSU. But I got the same result as last year. I got South Carolina beating Iowa. South Carolina is just a freight train. They're on their own quote-unquote redemption tour, if you want to call it that. I love seeing teams try to go undefeated. I love seeing the history of it. I'm excited to see it happen, and I think it will. And it'll happen on Caitlin Clark's watch, unfortunately, is what I believe. So I have Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks winning the national championship. They play tough. They are tough defensively. I think their bigs are better than Iowa's bigs. They have shooters now that can match up. Not saying they're going to shoot at the same clip as Caitlin Clark, but by committee, they can play a better game and wear them down. I just feel like all year long, South Carolina has been the class of women's college basketball, and I see them capping it off with a national championship. I believe the girls from Iowa that played well against LSU, South Carolina's defense is tough enough to take those girls away. You even heard Kim Mulkey talk about it from LSU. Like, Caitlin Clark is great. We knew she was great. We knew she was going to get hers, but we wanted to take away the others, and we weren't able to. You know, they had 20 and 16. Like, girls that don't really average that many points had career nights, and that was the difference. I think, again, we talk about how the Iowa's coach watched the UConn game. I feel like Dawn Staley, having a day off, watching that game, can see, okay, we can't let these other girls do what they were doing against LSU. We got to take that away. Assuming they get to the national championship game, of course, the games have to be played. If those two meet up in the national championship, I believe South Carolina wins. And I think they go undefeated, bring a chip back to Columbia where it once was before. So I'm going with South Carolina winning. So y'all let me know what y'all think on the women's side. We got our Final Four. Let me know who you got going to the national title game and who you got winning it. But like I said, I got SC versus Iowa, and then I got South Carolina winning it all. All right. On the men's side, we got a couple other teams on a mission. We were just talking about South Carolina. UConn goes up against Alabama on Saturday. And UConn men, they're looking like South Carolina. No, they're not undefeated, but the way they look in this tournament has just been dominant. If y'all saw what they did to Illinois the other day, they went on it was like a 25-2 run or something like that in the second half. Like, Illinois didn't score a point till like 9 minutes left in the second half. Like, it was just dominant. They've been doing it to everybody in their path. So I say all that to say I have UConn beating Alabama in the Final Four. It's great to see Alabama and see a little parity with the NIL and the transfer portal. You're starting to see some other teams make a run in the tournament. But I feel like UConn is just is a superior team, and they get the win. I don't think it's a blowout. The spread, I think, was 11.5 on this game. I wouldn't take that, but I'll take UConn to win it straight up. Then you got NC State, Cinderella team, number 11. They were under 500 in ACC conference play, and they're in the Final Four. So it just tells you, you got to play this game. You can't judge the record. You got to go out and play these guys. So NC State's trying to do their best, Kimball Walker, UConn impression, and run through their conference tournament and get a national championship against Purdue. I just don't see it happening for him, though. DJ Burns Jr., great player, kind of had his coming out party here in the tournament for NC State. he will not be the biggest guy on the court when he plays against Purdue. You got 7'4", 300-pound Zach Edey. I think it'd be different if DJ Burns could pull him out of the paint some more and shoot some jump shots, but that ain't his game. His footwork around the rim, kind of like Zach Randolph. He's got a Zebo type game. I don't think that's going to work against Zach Edey. So they look like they're on a mission. If you saw Zach Edey after the post game, when they won the Elite Eight game, he even talked about it. Coaches looked over me, can't do it anymore. So I think he wants to make a statement as well. And I got them going to a national championship up against UConn. And in that national championship, now, Purdue has had an advantage on every team they've played this year with Zach Edey. If they run into UConn in a national championship game, this is the game where I think they physically do not have an advantage. All right. Yes, Zach Edey is 7'4", but UConn center Donovan Klingman is 7'2". All right. So now you got somebody that's in the building that you ain't that much bigger than. So you got a 7'2" athletic center. He's going pro. You got another NBA player looking you eye to eye in this title game who's been there before. That's a big difference. I think it'll be a great matchup. Donovan Klingman can stretch the floor. He can shoot a little bit too, so he'll be able to do what DJ Burns won't do. And he's 6 inches taller than DJ Burns Jr. So I think that's to their advantage. UConn also has 2 6'10" dudes, a couple 6'8s. They got some athletic wings, like those dudes actually. So in all actuality, UConn actually has the height advantage from a team standpoint. Yes, Zach Edey is tall, but the rest of his team is not that big compared to him. Whereas UConn has 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", 6'10", 7'2". Like they have the size to throw at Zach Edey, at least slow him down, make him think, try to shoot over somebody. You know, somebody can be physical with him. And I don't think he's seen that all year. And I think this is a team that can give that to him. So I like UConn's wings better than Purdue's also. And again, I think the experience of playing in a national championship game will help not only with the size and the athleticism on the wings. The coaching, you can debate if one coach is better than the other, Dan Hurley or Matt Painter. But even if the coaching is a wash, the players know, and the players have played on this stage, I got to give the nod to UConn. So I think UConn finishes. They go back-to-back for the first time since Joakim Noah, Al Horford, and Billy Donovan, Florida, 06-07. So I think we get history this weekend in college basketball. We get an undefeated South Carolina winning the national championship, and then we get UConn going back-to-back. If you are not a fan of history happening or rooting for history, just don't watch the games, all right? Go hate somewhere in the corner. Go watch something else. But I am excited to see history happen. I want to say I was there watching a back-to-back and an undefeated team, so I can talk about it in episode 3, and I think it's going to be great. So y'all let me know what y'all think about that as well. Who do you have winning the national championship on the women's side and on the men's side? I got South Carolina, and I got UConn's men's basketball team going back-to-back. All right? So after that, we're going to change gears, okay? We're going to get into some Major League Baseball. Like I said, we've already been through week 1 of opening day, opening week. We got no-hitters already happening. We got Bobby Witt Jr. hitting 445-foot home runs already. Like, it's been crazy. Luis Robert hit 2 home runs in the game, even though the White Sox are starting off terrible. It's exciting to at least see the individual play, right? So because we didn't do this last week, we definitely got to do it now, and we got to give y'all our predictions. Who do we think is going to win their divisions this year, all right? We're going to go through the American League and the National League. I'm going to tell y'all who I think is going to win the leagues and why. In the American League, we're going to do it by division. We're going to go West, Central, East. And then we're going to do the same thing for the National League, all right? In the American League, I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to pick the Seattle Mariners to win the American League West. Yes, they are in the same division with the World Series champion Texas Rangers. Yes, they are in the same division with the trash can banging Houston Astros. But I'm still picking the Mariners to win this division. Why? I just feel like they're hungry. I think they're a hungry young team. I think Julio Rodriguez takes the next step to be an American League MVP candidate. So I'm going with the Mariners. If you wanted to bet on it, they're actually plus 280. They're underdogs to win this division, but I'm taking the Mariners to win it. They were pretty good last year. They just couldn't get over the hump the last month of the season. But I like it. I don't think the Rangers and the Astros, with some of their pitching staff not being healthy, I think they win games. Obviously, they're going to be in a playoff race and make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to put as much effort and energy into winning the division as a hungry Seattle Mariners team would. So I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and pick the Mariners, who are actually picked preseason third in this division. I'm going to pick them to win it. So I got the Mariners going for it. In the AL Central, as a fan of the AL Central, because I'm a White Sox fan, this is the worst division in baseball. Okay? It's just not good. There may be two teams in this division that could potentially lose 100 games. Another team can probably lose 85 games. So that being said, I have the Minnesota Twins winning the division. I think the Twins will play better baseball than everybody else. They'll probably win this division and not even have to win 90 games. Last year, they won a division winning 87. They might not even have to win that many. Just how bad this division is. It's a lot of rebuilding, a lot of calling up players. So we'll see what the Twins can do. But I think they will get it done. So I got the Twins winning the AL Central. In the American League East, this division is always competitive. And now the Baltimore Orioles are even good. Makes it even more competitive. But I feel like the Yankees, this is the year. If the Yankees can't win the division this year, what are we doing with Aaron Judge? I know he signed a deal, but we need to figure out what is going on in the Bronx. They're supposed to be the team that buys players. They're the New York Yankees. I mean, when you think baseball, you think Yankees. Whether you hate them or love them, you think Yankees, you think pinstripes. They haven't been good in a while, right? They won the first two games. They're 4-0 or 5-0 now. When they went 2-0 last week, I think I saw a graphic said this is the first time the Yankees went 2-0 since like 2004. Like, it's been 20 years since y'all won y'all first two games of the season. And y'all the Yankees? Like, come on. So this year, I feel like they want to get something going. I think they're on a roll. Obviously, all these predictions are barring injury. I can't predict if anybody will get hurt. But all things being equal, I think the Yankees win this division. I think the Orioles were great last year. Might have been lightning in a bottle. We'll see what they do. I think they had a great season. 100 wins and then get knocked out early. It's not a good sign going into the next year. I don't like the way that smells. So I'm picking the Yankees to win it. They're actually favored plus 170 to win this competitive division. And I think they do it this year, and they're off to a good start. Now we move to the National League. In the National League West, it's got to be the Dodgers, right? Mr. 700 million. They got the whole pitching staff is crazy. Mookie Betts, everybody, the long list of all-stars they have on this team. They're heavily favored to win this division, as they should be. They are favored to win their division higher than anybody else in baseball. So I'm going with that. They consistently win 100 games a year. So the regular season is never an issue for the Dodgers. It's always, once we get into October, I don't know what the hell happens to them. But this summer, they're going to roll through the NL West like usual. So I think they'll be fine. In the NL Central, though, the NL Central will have, the Reds will be good with De La Cruz. The Pirates will play well. The Cardinals and the Cubs always go back and forth. I'm actually going to pick the Cubs to win this division. I think the Cubs underachieved last year. Like, they were, I think literally a game or two from making a wild card, and they missed it on the last day or something. It was something crazy. I have to ask my friends that are Cub fans. I just remember laughing at them. But they ended up actually disappointed last year from what happened. I feel like the Cubs have a shot. They did some good things in the offseason. They got a chance. I think they're favored to win the division by most sport books. And then the Cardinals are in a couple too. I think between them and the Cardinals, the Cubs, new additions, I think they bounce back from that disappointing season. So I'm going with the Cubs to win the National League Central. And then the last division, the Braves division, the National League East. What's understood don't need to be explained. The Atlanta Braves will win this division. And other than the Dodgers, the Braves are the second team that is favored heavily to win their division. They've owned this division for the last 4 or 5 years. Even though the Phillies had a good year. The Phillies had a playoff run a couple years back. Bryce Harper in the game, but I just feel like the Braves are just too dominant. It looks like they have fun playing baseball in Atlanta. I've been to a Braves game. I love the stadium. I'll never sit where I sat when I went to the game because it was right in the sun. So if you do go to a Braves game, don't sit in left field if you go to a day game. The sun is right in your face. So next time we go, we definitely need to go get better seats. But the stadium's amazing. They basically have a history of Hank Aaron, like a monument, a museum of baseball there. It was a great time. But I got the Braves winning that division. I don't see anybody else getting in their way. The Phillies will threaten them, but at the end of the day, it's Braves all day. So let's run these down. All right, starting with the American League West. Y'all tell me if I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm talking about. I hear that at least once a week on YouTube. I don't know what I'm talking about. And then these things sort of happen. So it's weird. I don't know. But in the American League, the division champs, I have the Mariners, the Twins, and the Yankees. And then in the National League, I got the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Braves. So y'all let me know what y'all think. If those teams are going to be the teams that actually do it or not, and why. All right? Y'all let me know. Before I get out of here, man, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Be sure to always like, share, subscribe. Follow the Xfactor Sports Podcast. You can always catch us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Rumble. We're everywhere. And then the audio can always be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Pandora. So we're all over the place. Go ahead and check us out. All right. Before we get out of here, though, as we were talking about March Madness and we were talking about, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, all the backlash that these women, these young ladies get, even Caitlin Clark gets backlash for being good. I don't understand why. For them to be able to handle it the way they do, at least publicly, is a testament to probably their upbringing, their support system, the families around them. But more importantly is this, their self-worth. All right? Your self-worth is determined by you. And I think that should go a long way in this social media society. Like, I worry about this younger generation. I wonder if they understand what self-worth really means, if they know what the value of self-worth is. Not caring about what other people think about you. We're in a clickbait society. So we've seen some of the craziest things on social media just for people to get clicks and likes. For people you'll never meet. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It's not real, okay? It's all hollow and fleeting. The things that are real are you and your family and the people that support you. So you have to be able to understand what your self-worth is. And, are you happy with where you are? If you're not happy with where you are, get around people that actually can tell you the truth, that are going to be honest with you. That's when you can figure out what you truly are worth to people and to yourself. So I was lucky enough to grow up around people that when we were growing up, we would say keeping it real, right? People that always kept it real with us. You are who you are, and you're not who you're not. I've never had that problem. I've always been very self-aware. Even in basketball, I know what I'm good at. I know what I am on the basketball court, and I know what I'm not. All right. I wasn't the guy coming down, pulling up, shooting 50, 40 footers. Nope. I'm the guy that can get to the cup. I was athletic. I can shoot the mid-range. I'm going to defend. I'm going to play smart basketball. I'm going to do whatever my team needs me to do to win the game. I'm not going to go outside my body. But that came at a very young age of knowing my self-worth and knowing my value. So just remember, your self-worth is not determined by any external factors, but by the value you place on yourself. So embrace your uniqueness, learn from experiences, and cultivate positive self-image to unlock true potential in yourself. All right. This is Jay Mondaine of the Xfactor Sports Podcast. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to Season 4, Episode 2. We will be back next week. We will be talking about NBA, the play-in tournament. We should have a good idea of who's in it. We're going to talk about those games, who we have getting into the playoffs. And Wednesday, April 24th, is Episode 5 of the Xfactor Sports Podcast. It is the fan appreciation episode for this season. We will be doing that live at Bogey's Pub, Bogey's Windy City Pub in Leawood, Kansas. Be sure to check us out. Come on out, support, watch the show live. You get to see the host live in action. There will be shirts there for sale. You get to hang out with us, get some food, chill. We're going to be talking NFL draft that day because it's the day before, April 24th, 2024 on a Wednesday, Episode 5, the Xfactor Sports Podcast. I will see you guys next week. We will get into the NBA for Episode 3. Peace.